right. Well, I am excited to have the man, the myth, the legend, Wes Schaeffer here on our show. Wes is he's a pretty incredible, very unique guy. He has a family of 9. So 7 kids. That's quite a feat. And he has he's the founder of the Sales Whisperer, which is a sales and marketing and consulting. I mean, you guys do a ton to help business owners really step up their game in that arena. And he's an avid Jiu Jitsu man and a man of God also, which is pretty incredible. And he's found a way to just find balance between all those, which is why I admire you and honor you for that ability. Right, it's kind of rare in today's modern world to run into guys that really take those things seriously.
Yeah.
Right, because the typical what I typically run into is guys that are just very focused on business.
Right.
And then they tend to kind of leave out the either neglect the family or neglect their health a lot of times.
Right.
So let's start out. So so how long ago did you get into jiu-jitsu? I'm kind of curious about that. We had a brief conversation.
If my often choked brain can remember clearly, I think it was January 27th, 2017.
Okay.
A friend of mine, he invited me for about 6 months. You got to come. It's at noon, right? It's when he went. I'm like, I can't carve out 2 hours out of the middle of my day to go roll around the mats. Like, you must be crazy. And I finally went. And, I'm 6'2". At the time, I was 235 pounds. Did some warm-ups. We did a drill. It put me with this 67-year-old guy, about 150 pounds. And jiu-jitsu is different. Wrestling, you don't want to be on your back. Jiu-jitsu teaches you to fight from your back. And so it's called being in someone's guard, right? You use your legs, and that way you can use your legs and your hands. And so it was a guard drill. Guy laid down. I knelt down in front of him. He wrapped his legs around me, and then I had to get away. And I was 47 years old. He was 67 years old. I outweighed him by 80 pounds, and I could not get away from this guy. So I'm like, I'm going to quit now and just hope nobody ever remembers my name. They just forget I was here, or I'm going to stick around and figure this voodoo magic out. And so here we are, 3.5 years later.
What would you say is your favorite part of jiu-jitsu? Why'd you fall in love with it? Because I've seen a lot of your posts and just your involvement with it, man. You're all in on it. So
yeah.
I
was fortunate. I went to a good school, right? It's a good, led by a great instructor. And you know what? Honestly, I probably wouldn't have stuck around, at least with him, even 10 years ago, because he's matured as well. And the guys that have been around are like, oh man, we were killing each other 10 years ago. He was just younger and they're more aggressive. So it's more family oriented, but still very competitive. So, but it's a great owner with a great vibe. It's not an MMA school, it's a jiu-jitsu competitive school. So there's nobody in there with a big ego, and if they are, they're run out. So that's important. It's a good group of people, but it's very hard. We all need to be pushed, right? We're put on this earth to be challenged. Even Adam and Eve weren't given a hammock and just dropped grapes in their mouths from, cherubim and you're like, I give you the garden, but you got to tend to it, right? They still had to get up and work. Mm-hmm. So it's like, do big things, right? Do things that challenge you. And man, I had never found anything as challenging as jiu-jitsu, right? They say it's like trying to fold laundry with somebody still in their clothes. That's what it is.
How do you think it relates to the game of life? Like, what are some of the ways that it represents kind of just life and how life plays out?
Yeah, it's very similar. We were talking at lunch, and it's like there's never, when should you start a business? When should you get married? When should you have a kid? Like, there's never a perfect time, right? Just if it feels right, jump in, right? And like in jiu-jitsu, you learn all these perfect things, right? I'm gonna have this perfect plan. I'm gonna get my bank account. I'm gonna get my degree. I'm gonna get my master's, and I'm gonna write a book, and I'm gonna sail the world, and I'm gonna develop a cure for cancer, and then I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna have 2.3 kids and 1.7 dogs, you know, and then like wham, you know, you break your leg on a skiing accident, and what, you know, like everything's out the window, you know. So how are you going to adapt, right? So like jiu-jitsu, I can learn all these perfect moves, and then, you know, like, I don't wear my rings because this finger's so swollen and jammed up, it can't fit. That one can't fit. That one's jammed up, you know, my right ankle, my left elbow. So I got this big perfect move, but it requires my left arm and my right foot. Okay. How do I just stop competing until I'm healed, or do I figure out how to fight? You know, like Eddie Van Halen, right? If he pops the E string, oh, stop everybody, we're going to... No, that dude just keeps hitting the lick, right? Because he's so good, doesn't matter. You know, so in jiu-jitsu, it's like, can you keep fighting? You know, oh, I'm really good against other 50-year-old dudes that are 220 pounds. Well, what if I'm fighting a 250-pounder? What if I'm fighting a 170-pounder that's super agile and tall and skinny and quick and great cardio? But I got all these big moves. So do I quit? Or do I figure out how to stay in the game despite what my opposition throws at me, right? Because there's always something. You know, my own podcast, I just interviewed a guy this morning. He had a $320 million exit. Right? You think, oh, he's on Easy Street. And he's like, yeah, I took 2 months off, golfed a little bit, hadn't golfed in 10 years. He says, but then I got to go do something. You know, but he, even with his business, with his friends, and they were growing, that it wasn't fun. He's like, that's why he sold, because it was changing, it was evolving. You think, oh, I got this company, huge valuation, everything's perfect. It's like, no, it's not perfect. You know, so no matter what, right? You're looking in from the outside, looking in. Things are never what they appear to be, right? So just keep going, keep competing. Stay in the game. You know, maybe you're going to go a little slower one day. Maybe you go a little faster another day. But stay in the game.
Yeah, that's why I love fitness and exercise and martial arts, because it really, I don't know, it creates a habit of doing uncomfortable things and learning how to operate without ideal circumstances. You know what I mean? And so that can show up right in a marriage, right? Something going wrong in a marriage, and then having to adapt and just pushing through. Because sometimes I think we could become kind of weak or soft or comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And comfort, I feel like, is it can cause some challenges in my life when I get too comfortable. I start to take the easy route.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people, right, they build a life of comfort, and I do this regularly, right? I try to get to a place of comfort or to cruise control. But then what happens is I stop having some of the hard conversations with people, right? So if my life's good, right, I've created a good life, and my marriage is good, I may not be willing to have a very hard conversation that could take my marriage to a level 10, because I could go backwards in my marriage. So if I want to continue to stay at good, and I have my mindset where good is good enough, then I'll stay at good forever. But for people like in jiu-jitsu, right, you're going to have to do some things that are unique to push the limit to get better. You may get injured, right? You may get injured trying new moves out, but the goal is to continue to excel, to continue to be the best version that you can be while you're competing. And so just that conversation of just being good and good enough, and just practicing being uncomfortable. I could feel myself just starting to be uncomfortable again. So just for fun, I took a cold shower last night. I just liked, when I feel too comfortable, I'll do things that create some discomfort, because when I'm comfortable, I'm usually not operating at my best, or I'm not doing the hard things in life, right? Even in business, right? Even doing the hard things in business, the hard conversations, the hard, those calls. Yep. So, yeah, that's why I really like fitness, the mental toughness. Martial arts, I mean, to me it's a physical exercise, but it's really kind of more a mental. It's more of a mental
Everything's
thing.
mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything. Life is mental, right? The whole world, everything is. Like they just had the U.S. Open, right? That Bryson DeChambeau won. All those guys that made it to the U.S. Open were good enough to win it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sure, they're a lot better than you and me. So it's not. See, it's not all mental; it's all physical. When you're with your peers, right? So all these guys that made it to the U.S. Open, they're with their peers. So why does one guy win? Why do 20 or 30 or 40 other guys miss the cut, right? Why do they blow up so bad on Thursday and Friday that they're not even there to play in the weekend? Right? It's mental. For whatever reason, they talk themselves out of it. Oh, it's a tight fairway. Oh, I'm no good out of the rough. Oh, I'm not good with short putts, and they just made it happen. All right, you're right. You know, the old Henry Ford, right? One man thinks he can, one thinks he can. They both right. You know, so why'd they talk themselves out of it? They were good enough to be there. You know, I mean, even those guys missing the cut, right? I mean, so they shoot like 6 over both days. I mean, I would shoot 6 over on the first 6 holes, you know, first 3 holes. I mean, so they're good enough. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So everything is mental. Success in life. So get your head screwed on, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then the conversation, right, of, you know, it's neat. So I have 2 kids, right? I have my 5-year-old and my 8-year-old, and it's a lot. It's a lot to even manage them with business, with life, everything going on. And so, man, how do you do a family of 9? Like, what does that even look like? What is
you
your
have to ask
morning?
my wife how she does a family of, how she does 8, because she's got to lump me in there with all that. So marry well.
Yeah.
And then you're on easy street.
Easier said than done, but sure, that's a good.
Just marry well. Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate in that regard, right? I mean, what is today? 21st. So literally right around now, it's about 2 weeks before our anniversary, September 30th. So 25 years ago, pretty much on this day, my wife quit her day job. We were married at March Air Force Base, you know, over the mountain in Moreno Valley. And 2 days later, movers came. We went to Biloxi, Mississippi. And she's from Corona. She had turned down a job in Santa Barbara because it was too far from her family. And then she marries some redneck. 2 days later, moves to Biloxi, Mississippi. So she has stayed home for 25 years, you know, and we didn't have plans to have a big family. I have one younger sister. She has one older brother. And, you know, we just started having babies. We were open to life, right? And she was very good at it. We had...
Good at baby making.
Good at baby making. She had easy pregnancies, easy deliveries, you know, so we were really fortunate in that regard. And, you know, she stayed home the whole time, has put up with my adventures and misadventures and supported me chasing things, you know, real estate and investing and buying apartments and building houses. I mean, I've done all kind of crazy stuff. And, you know, not all of them have worked out. And she's like, well, we just keep rolling, you know. So that's been so marry well.
Marry well. And then how do you manage for those fathers that are watching the show? Like, what's something that you do on the fatherhood side to stay connected with your kids, or just where you feel like you're investing in them? Like, you know, some people have a hard time again doing it with 1 or 2 kids. So what's some good advice on how do you stay connected? What are some things? What are some mindsets around that, or just some habits or behaviors that you've kind of built to stay connected to your children?
Well, again, you know, it's helped that my wife has stayed home, right? Because at least there's always been that sense of stability and actual stability, right? Because mom's home.
Yep.
Because I've traveled,
Critical.
I've had some unbalanced periods, you know, of grinding away and not being there, at least mentally. You know, I've worked from home for 20 years, but I traveled for corporate America, and I've had the Sales Whisperer now since late 06, so, you know, almost 14 years, and worked from home, but, you know, a lot of, you know, home office and just grinding away, you know. But because my wife was home, you know, she could coordinate, and, you know, she was good. She would jerk a knot in my head, right, if I'm too focused and It's like, you got to get to this game. You got to get to this practice. And then I made time, right? It's like I coached the boys. The boys were first and then 5 girls. I coached their basketball team. I coached their flag football team for many years. I was an assistant coach on their baseball team. Well, T-ball at first, and then my second son was big into baseball, so I coached a couple years with that. And then, as they got older, I didn't help in the high school, but so at least there, I'm with them.
Yeah.
Making time. It's like if I'm the coach.
Yep.
Well, I got to end this call and I got to be there. I can't let 10 or 12 other kids down. So, bite off more than you can chew, right? You'll figure it out. And when those things come around, because look, dude, it wasn't until my 5th child that I realized, say, oh, they grow up fast, and usually you realize that too late. Right. And by my 5th, I was in a position in life. Things had, so she's 15 now, almost 16. She'll be 16 in a couple months, next month. So 16 years ago, right? So I would have been 34. And I'm starting to realize, all right, they do grow up fast. And she turned 3 in the hospital. And 15 days she spent in the hospital. I was there for 11 of them. Misdiagnosed ruptured appendix. So she was not quite 3, so couldn't really communicate, right? Just, tummy hurts, fever, blah, blah, and it was one of those stretches we had those big fires. So 13 years ago, whenever that was, right? 07, they couldn't transport her. They wanted to get her to Children's, so we stay in the hospital out there, and it wasn't as good back then. And, so it took like a week to get her to a good hospital. But my wife was 38 weeks pregnant. And she's like, she didn't leave for 15 days. She slept in that bed with that baby, with another one on the way. And I went home for 4 nights out of the 15. Otherwise I was there, but living through that, again, it drove it home. Like, man, time is short, life is fragile. Don't let these things pass by. And so you gotta make that a priority. And it's so hard. I think entrepreneurship, I'm doing this for the family. It's like bull crap. You're doing this for you. I took my 6-year-old to the pool yesterday, and this whole COVID stuff. And it's open an hour, closed for 30 minutes to sterilize. So it's like scheduling Southwest Airlines. When can we go? When can we get there? When do I have calls? Let me move some calls and make. So she just wanted me at the pool. She didn't care if I had a call. She didn't care if I closed a big sale. That little 6-year-old was like, "Come to the pool, Daddy. I want to jump off your shoulders." Hope I'm doing this for you, baby. You're going to miss her jumping off your shoulders. Because, again, I'm doing this for you. Every entrepreneur that says that, you're lying to yourself. And you know it, right? You know it. Can I look into the camera? Can I look right at you? Right? You're lying. It's the kids are going to be fine. Whether you drive a new car or used car, they're going to be fine. If they don't have the latest iPhone, they'll be fine. As long as you're there. Right, so figure out how to be there. It's important.
I think one of the blessings that's come out of COVID for sure has been some realizations of that people have had.
Yes.
Right. So fathers being able to stay at home, because I think that's a typical misconception, or just that hey, the more I work, right, and the more money I can make, I'll spend time with my family when I create success. Right. I'll spend time with my family when I create success, when we get the house, when I get everything that we need and it's all settled, then I'll connect. But very rarely does it ever play out like that, where all of a sudden, boom, you've created success and now your life's just easy and now you have all this time to spend time with your kids. So it's investing in them while you're building, while you're scaling, while you're putting in the hours, still finding time to go to the pool. Right in the middle of the day and just go hang out with your kid, or still finding time to go on a date night with your daughter, or to connect. I do little one-on-one dates with my boys, right? Where I'll just go on like a little walking adventure for an hour, and they love that. That's like the thing that they love the most is when I go walk around our concrete jungle over here, and we just go find cool things on the ground. And my little 5-year-old, right, I just go walking with him, and he's like, "Let's go on an adventure." I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." Right, and just making time. I actually have to put it on my calendar though, so I actually schedule my one-on-one time with my son, because if I don't, I don't do it. I literally don't.
Too easy to pass by.
I don't do it. I have to. I have to schedule it. And so the COVID situation is interesting, man. I've had so many conversations where men were now working from home and realizing how much they were missing out on. They're like, man, I haven't even connected with my kids like at this level. Like, I have a guy in my Bible study, and he's just sharing that. He's like, dude, I thought like, just working and maxing out in business was the top priority. He's like, honestly, I would rather be a little slower at work and be able to spend more time with my kids.
Dude, it's all misdirection. We are in a battle, right? The devil's real. We're in war. So, if like boxing, right? Remember the guy, and then get you with the jab, right? And the little kids, right? Say, look over here, whack, and you get them to look the other way, right? If the devil can get you to convince, I got to do this hour commute. I've got to do this going early. I got to stay late. I got to work Saturday. I got to do this. Like they say, the truth doesn't matter if I can get you asking the wrong questions. Right? Everybody's chasing that. That's right. So they look around. That's what everybody else is doing. So this must be what I'm supposed to do. No, you're not. I tell all my clients, look at what your competition's doing and do the opposite. I'll tell them, go secret shop. Go sign up for 5 or 10 newsletters, whatever, from your competition. See what they send. Ask for a quote from 10 of them, 5 of them. You'll see they're all the same. Like, can I cover up their name? Do you know who they are? Nope, it's all the same, huh? So if if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck, right? And the only way your competition can tell you apart is on your price. And so that's trouble, right? But look around. Just because everybody's doing it, it's probably a good indicator it's wrong. And people, because like, I haven't traveled as much, and I didn't pursue a big speaking career, and I don't like to be gone. People are like, oh, these kids, you should be on the road. I'm like, I want to be home.
People that have that many kids usually are out traveling to avoid.
People are like, how you doing? My kids are terrible. And you start digging down, and you realize how broken their home is, and you can't say it. Right? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. My kids are solid. No drug abuse, no crazy stuff, no fighting with us. They all make straight A's. I mean, I don't know. And it's like, we're not tyrants either. I mean, one of our greatest compliments are our former neighbors, and we moved like 3 miles away, so we still go and see them, but we were literally right across the street from them. And they're a little bit older than us, and so they were empty nesters, and they've got a pool, and they're like, you're welcome anytime, and we'll go over there. They'll have a party, and we'll go over like 4th of July and whatever. And Lisa says this every time. She's like, hey, everybody, here's a Schaeffer, these are our neighbors. Say, we say that you can bring kids, whatever. We really usually don't really mean it, but we mean it with the Schaeffers. It's like, these are the only kids we like being around. I'm like, all right, then we're done. We've done a good job. You remember Jesse Ventura, the wrestler and governor of Minnesota?
No.
Man, you young bucks, man. So he was a Navy SEAL, like a real-world Navy SEAL. Big, tough guy. He was WWE, maybe even before it was WWE, I don't know. So he was a wrestler, but then he ran for governor of Minnesota. And he wrote this book. It was a tell-all, and he was your typical hard-charging, fighting Vietnam and chasing skirts and whatever. And then he squared his life away. He says, look, all that's true. And I wrote a book about it. So what are you going to say about me? Right? He says, but look, don't judge me on me. Judge me on how I raise my kids. Go look at my kids. And sure enough, like, they were squared away. It's a pretty good point. So
yeah, if
my kids are all right, then I figure, all right, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, straight A's, man, with that many kids, can't even imagine the amount of homework that you guys needed to support on. I mean, gosh. That's my wife right now, right? We got our 8-year-old. I know, nonstop. The homework thing is ridiculous, even with a little 8-year-old. So you, my friend, are the sales master. You're like the sales pro. People come to you to solve their sales problems in their companies. What would you say is the number one think that companies from a sales perspective are doing wrong? So companies that are just trying to scale, I would say that a company that's trying to scale and grow their business, where are they usually off point on their sales or their marketing? Either or.
Well, I always.
And how would you differentiate those two things? Because everybody ties them together.
They're two sides of the same coin, right? I always tell people marketing is just selling in print. Okay. Underwriting everything is sales. When you first met your wife, like were y'all like high school sweethearts or something, or how long?
No, we met when we were. No, she actually worked at a company called World Financial Group. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Primerica. So
Okay.
we both worked there. I met her briefly. She was like this top trainer in the company, and then we ended up meeting. She was married, and I was in a relationship. We both ended up. That didn't go well, and then so we ended up meeting each other later, a couple years later, at a place called Iron Walk in Temecula, like a little Thursday night dance club thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, not high school sweethearts.
I met my wife at a country bar.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a sale.
Yep.
Right.
100%. Yep.
I went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night country dancing. Right. So before I left, I would shine my boots. Got my shirt from the dry cleaners, extra starch, baby. Right? I showered, I shaved, put on cologne. Each of those were little pre-sales. Right? I was getting ready, and then how I showed up, how I asked her to dance matters, right? I could always walk up and go, "Come with me, we're going dancing." Maybe that'll work. Would you like to dance, right? Or I could walk up behind and tap her. "Hey, honey, let's go dance." All of those matter. Each of those is a sale, right? It's an approach. It's a style. So marketing is just selling in print, right? And I tell everybody, to make any sale, you must make every sale.
All the small sales.
All those little small sales leading up. Hey, would you like to dance? And then how do you conduct yourself while you dance? Do you squeeze too soft, too hard, just right? I mean, do you ask again and when? And so all of those matter. Okay. So companies, what are their mistakes? It's like, so number one, not understanding that, how being able to like secret shop yourself, right? And I always tell people, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. What I can see from the outside looking in is just going to be that much quicker because I don't take anything for granted. And then I'll tell people too, they're like, "Well, our business is different." Like, "Oh, okay, you're different, How much experience do you have in the alpaca disco dancing genre?" I'm like, "None, which is exactly why you need me." Like, "What do you mean?" Like, you don't want somebody showing up with any sacred cows. I don't know anything about your business. I'm going to come in with a fresh set of eyes because, look, let's be honest. If you knew what the heck was going on, you would have already solved it, right? So not understanding that, so again, marketing is selling in print, right? Understanding how, small hinges swing big doors. Any of those things go wrong along the way. Got this beautiful website, great logo. Our logo was designed by the same person that designed Sarah Blakely's redo of Spanx. Okay, great. So it's got all these colors and the rising sun. Okay, great. Fantastic. And, we still have flash. So our older clients are really happy because there's flash and it plays air supply. Fantastic. But you go through, but then the people that answer the phone, speaking of that, right on cue, that answer the phone are rude. Or it takes 5 rings to answer the phone. So all that, paying the person, fancy server, logo design, all goes away. So not understanding how everything is connected, right? So now you got to start looking at your people, Do you have the right people? Well, there's a whole big, 37 books, each of them 37 million pages each on how to hire the right person. So, then you get them on board and I tell them, most companies are like, "Skylar, welcome aboard. We heard great things about you. We expect, great things. Here's your computer. There's your phone. You got a $12 million quota. Coffee's right there. Go get them, Tiger." You're like, what do I do? Oh, it's in the CRM. Yeah, good luck. But you better start dialing. You got a big quota.
It's interesting on that. No, yeah, I've seen so many companies that bring on new people that have a horrible onboarding and training process, especially on the sales side. And sales happens to be one of the most challenging positions in a company. And most companies fail to systemize their sales process
Oh, yeah.
in a way that maybe they don't even know how to train
They don't.
a salesperson.
They don't. I've always said most salespeople have not had sales training. They had marketing training. They had product training.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, here's the iPhone 11. It's got dual cameras. It's got infrared, blah, blah, blah. If you lift it to your face, it goes off and it saves energy. And it's this much weight and this size and this case. And it's waterproof to 2 meters, blah, blah, blah. Go sell them. Who buys this? Well, everybody. Everybody? So I can stand on the street corner and just sell it? So who am I selling to? Oh, you've got government, or you've got financial services, or you got, why do they buy it? They're buying security, they're buying redundancy, they're buying stability, they're buying interoperability with, so now I got my 3 or 4 or 5 key points, because everybody, they're like I sell software, right? And so how do you sell so much software? Because I don't sell all of it. Everybody's got their 1 or 2 or 3 reasons why they would buy it. Maybe you want to buy it. Maybe my daughter wants to buy it because it's got a higher definition camera for selfies and doing videos. Maybe you want it because it works with Microsoft Exchange and with your multiple locations, and your IT guys can synchronize emails so you never miss a call or an email. Maybe you want it because it's got better back camera. It's got depth and up close and blah, blah, blah. And you can leave your expensive camera at home and still do quality shoots. Oh, okay. Tell me why. All of you would buy it for different reasons. So when you explain that, like it opens things up, and their minds start thinking. And, you always heard the ABCs of selling, right? Glenn Ross. A, always B, B, C, closing.
Yep.
And I'm like, that movie's from 1992. Based on a Broadway play from the 80s, based on, I think it was a book in the early 80s or late 70s, based on the guy's dad who was in real estate in the 50s and 60s. So that attitude, that line, put that coffee down, coffee's for closers, that's 60 years old. And I'm like, there's new ABCs of selling. One is always be concise. In my sales training group, literally on the way here, I had to wrap up so I could come here. And I do a call every Monday morning at 10 a.m. And the guy, actually, he's in video. And he's coming up with his own podcast. And he said, hey, I'll post the script in the group. And so I was able to read it coming over. And he's calling just to invite people to be on the podcast. And this thing's 2 paragraphs long. Hey, you want to be on the podcast? And we do this and that. And Zoom is casual, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, great. Have all that. But just start out with, hey, I'm calling to see. Hey, Skylar, I'm calling to see if you would like to be a guest on the, ABC Video Marketing Podcast.
Simple.
Right. Have the rest, right? Always be concise. He's got all the detail. You go, maybe you go, absolutely, thanks for asking. How do we schedule it? And we're done. Or say, well, maybe tell me more. I'm going to tell you a little bit. Well, it's very casual. It's, we're focused on video, and, I do it over Zoom. And we really pick your time. You don't have to do any prep work. Show up and we knock it out. Oh, okay. That sounds easy. Tell me more. Okay. So now I'm going to go down each of those points, but otherwise I'm going to start out short and sweet. Mm-hmm. You don't have time. Right. And if you're totally not interested, you know what? I'm in the middle of a cut show. Call me later. Okay, great. I didn't waste 2 minutes of both of our time, getting frustrated. So always be concise. Always be courteous. All right. Being nice, please and thank you are the magic words. You got, come on. Yeah. Your eyes are on. You've heard that a few times, right? Yep. Just wait. That's Barney, right? But purple dinosaur. We need to cut for a minute. I got to. Always be concise. Always be courteous. Always be curious. dig in, right? And somebody says something, don't just assume. Ask why. And it's kind of like Oprah, right? You see these reporters out in the, your car just leapt off the bridge and you jumped out and to the water and there were sharks and two of your legs, both of your feet were eaten off and your left arm, but you managed to get here to the shore. What's going through your mind right now? You're like, did you really just ask that question? But it's like, well, yeah, we have to ask that question. Well, because people tell me, well, hey, I want to grow my sales. And most even sales trainer was jumping in. Okay, great. Look, I've got like in-person and on-demand and group and semi-private. And they just start pitching themselves. But I'm like, why do you want to grow your sales? Isn't it obvious? Doesn't everybody want to grow their sales? I'm like, believe it or not, no. Not everybody does. But I still want to know why. Oh, you're having a baby. Oh, you're having another baby. Oh, you're getting a divorce. Oh, you're moving and you're expanding. Oh, you just bought a company. How'd that transition go? Oh, it's going terrible. Oh, what happens if you don't get your sales squared away? Oh, you're gonna get kicked off the board. Oh, and this is your family business. Oh, so there's some pride, there's some history, right? I don't want this guy like Oprah. I was just in tears. I don't want it to be like that. I thought it would be better. My dad handed me this great company, and that's all right, buddy. I'm gonna take care of you.
Kind of pulling out the emotion, right?
You
Making it more of an emotional sell than just some logical, I want to grow my sales.
Yeah. Because if they're not bought in, there's like, okay, thanks for your proposal. We'll get back to you. Oh, great.
Man, there's power behind that. Right, actually digging deep, right? Digging deep and going deep, as opposed to if somebody says, "Hey," right, like off the bat, "Hey, yeah, I'm interested in buying." You just don't start moving forward with, it's like, "Hey, well, okay, cool, why?" Or, "Hey, I'm interested in being a part of this," or actually finding out the emotional reason why is such a critical part.
And there's subtleties to it, right? You can't just say, "No, I'm interested." Why?
Yeah.
Say, "Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to find us. May I ask what brings you in? May I ask how you found us? May I ask?" So there's some art to the science, right?
Yep.
But the science is I got to get you talking and telling me why, what's going on, and you got to get 2 and 3 and 4 layers deep. Because otherwise it's just very superficial. Our job in sales, what I tell all my clients, our job in sales is to ask a question that you can't answer. Okay, and people usually, what are you talking about? Like, think about it. So, like my elbow hurts, right? And I know exactly when I did it. And so, but I looked things up. Oh, is it hot? Do I use heat or cold? Are there stretches? Are there supplements? So I tried all of it. Once I did all of this and it still hurt, then I go to the doctor, right? Once I can't answer the question or can't find an answer, then I go seek expert advice. I go to a chiropractor that we know, and now I'm much more open and receptive to his diagnosis. Okay, but if I can answer all the questions, why do I need you? Right? And we prove our competency by the questions that we ask. And I always, when I've got women in the audience, I'll ask this question because men, like, we're boneheads. Like, I literally don't know my doctor's name. I know my chiropractor's name, but not my annual. I don't know. My wife's had the same doctor. I know her doctor's name because she's used her for so long and delivered a couple of our kids and saved her life on one of her miscarriages. But I digress. But even my wife, but I'll ask women, say, "Hey, anybody here have a regular doctor?" Yeah. How many of you had a doctor for 5 years? 10 years, right? There'll be some 10, 15, 20 years even. And I'm like, "Where'd your doctor go to school?" I think I've had one ever answer that question that knew where their OBGYN went to school. Like, where'd they do their residency? No idea. Where'd they do their internship and whatever? No idea. What about their advanced studies? No idea. What kind of machine? What kind of machine they use for the mammograms? Is it a General Electric, Westinghouse? No idea. But you've had this doctor for 10 years. The doctor's delivered children. Checks you twice a year. Prescribes medicines, procedures. Yeah. You trust this doctor? Yeah. But you don't know any of this stuff. Is it a stainless steel, aluminum, blah, blah, blah? You don't know any of that. Why do you trust that doctor so much? Because they take their time and they listen and they ask questions and they dig in and, their bedside manner. Yeah, actually, yeah. Oh.
One of the worst experiences, right, is when I walk into a doctor's office and they ask one question, then prescribe something.
Yeah.
Based off of one question.
Right.
Right. They really does tell a lot about their experience, about their care, about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you may be in a hurry. And you know what? Like me, I get a sinus infection every year. I don't need to go in and answer 37 questions. Dude, it's in my file. Can you, please, but, otherwise, we want to be listened to. So we prove our competency by the questions that we ask. So how well do you know your product? How well do you know the pain that your prospects are experiencing? So you go and you're on the right track when your prospect goes, never been asked that before. Wow, that's a good question. Well, hold on a second. They bring somebody else in. Now you're on track, because the assumption is if you're smart enough to ask a question that they haven't even thought of, then you probably have the answer and are willing to pay to find that answer. Okay, but it's in the questions that you ask, and it's how you do it, and there's a little bit of a dance, a little choreography there. But ultimately, if you just showed up and asked a bunch of questions, you'll be better off than showing up and giving a big long presentation.
It's great. Yeah, we have for our restoration company that I run, our guys, when they show up and do an inspection, that's specifically what they do. They start identifying areas that a client normally wouldn't be thinking of. That's powerful. I haven't heard it articulated that way. Right? You're kind of exposing what they don't know, so that they then become clear that they need you because they don't know these specific things. Right. So it could be walking into a house and saying, "Oh, you have some water damage, right? Your entire kitchen's flooded," and they're thinking, "Oh, cool, I'll just dry it out." And then we ask, "Hey, what year's your home?" "Oh, it's 1970. Are you aware that, all homes before 1978 need to be tested for asbestos?" "No, I didn't." "So you could have asbestos in your wall, so make sure you don't touch any of your drywall." "Oh, shoot, I'm just going to start ripping some stuff out." And so it's these little things that lead them to a point where they're like, okay, I realize I need to be more cautious with this, and I actually don't even know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So will you guys please handle this for me?
Yeah. 2 or 3 simple questions.
Yep.
Totally changes the dynamic of the conversation.
And what about messaging? So that's again a common issue I see with a lot of business owners. Actually, before we go into that, do you discuss avatars and kind of core customers, or do you go deep into some of that stuff? Because I've found many people do not know who their core customer is, right? Who their avatar is, who they're really selling to. Maybe they have a general range. I'm selling to, but actually most people think everybody's their customer. Yeah. Like you mentioned with the phone, right? Everybody's their customer. The challenge is if everybody's your customer, how do you market? Well, first off, that's not true. Not everybody is going to buy restoration services, right? We're gonna appeal to a certain demographic, people that own houses. Our kind of marketing style towards people within a certain age range. I mean, we're very clear. Rise Up Kings, right? In our brand, we know we're, for people between about 35 and about 50 years old. That's our target market. They're married. They have kids. They're men of faith. And they know that there's an area in their life that they're like lacking and they're not reaching their full potential. So we're very clear on, I have a name for the exact guy, and we market specifically to that person because we know that, if we just market so vaguely and so wide, right? Hey, this is an event, an experience for men. Then people think the larger the blanket, right? The larger the net, they'll be able to attract more people. Yep. I heard a pretty great thing that we actually market by. It's you need to attract your customer and repel everybody else. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but like attract it, and then your messaging should repel the people that.
Yeah. Do you have magnets on that board?
I do have magnets on that board. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a magnet attracts to the same degree it repels.
Yep.
Right. You put 2 of the north ends together, you can't push it together. Mm-hmm. If they're small enough, you can squeeze it. As soon as you let go, it's flying across the room. Turn it around, bam. So people, like Dan Kennedy's magnetic marketing, you hear about it, but nobody wants to repel anybody. I just want us all to hug. Can't we all just get along? No, you can't. You can't all get along.
Your marketing definitely repels.
Somebody's
Yours also.
Why you gotta be like that? Don't make me do it. I'll do a grip. I'll get that on. Zoom in on this wrist.
Yeah, but on purpose, you know who your target market is, and you know who you don't want applying and being involved in your programs.
You should know. Yeah, for sure. No, but I'll never call you if I see this ad you see on my Facebook. Say, fantastic. I don't want you tying up my salespeople's time.
Yeah.
But most people that could hurt some. Oh, but no, we mean well. Look, the dude, he understands. Your messaging went out. He got the message. That's fine. Sort, sift, and separate. I mean, the real, I was just saying this the other day. We were in the kitchen and talking to my son. He's like a great salesman. And I said, really, I said, your mom just sent me this cease and desist. I got to transfer the Sales Whisperer trademark to her because she's the real Sales Whisperer. Because she will hammer and like deep down, I hate selling. I hate the traditional tit for tat, objection handling, overcoming. Like that ain't my style, man. I like to have good marketing. So people just call. Like, I just have one quick question. Sure, I'm happy to answer it. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. How would you like to proceed? Yeah, I'm ready to get started. Lovely. Let me get your info or I'll send you, go here, go there and just click buy. I don't even want to talk. I don't want you to give me your card over the phone. Just go type it in. I don't want all of that. It's too much energy. It's too much. That's the other thing too. People don't know, like the military, we don't fight fair, right? We don't show up for a fair fight. Talking about being comfortable. Like when does the military, when we went and got Osama bin Laden, was it like noon on a Monday? Hey, everybody at work, everybody checked in and got some coffee, had a little lunch, settling in. Yeah, well, we'd like to come and arrest the bad guy. No, we go at 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we're comfortable, right? Our guard is down. We're in that deep REM sleep. Hello, surprise. And we don't send one guy, right? We send 3 helicopters because one's a backup, fortunately, because we needed a backup. We send 20 guys in there. Drones, fiber optics, flashbangs. I mean, it's not a fair fight. I don't want a fair fight with the prospect. Right? I don't want to fight at all, but I want them stepping in and just the guard comes down, the shields come down, the walls come down. Just they're open and honest. Because I learned this a long time ago from my sales mentor, right? 4 parts to selling. True selling, right? Is that number 1, selling is a calling. Serving is its purpose, right? Questioning is the process. And a sale may be the solution. So after doing this for long enough, and I tell people, look, we may not be a fit for each other. But most people say that as a gimmick, because they're going to do whatever they got to do to get that sale. And it's like, I'll tell you right off the bat, we're not a fit. I've got 10 other recommendations. I'll help you find them. But, I don't want to do business with people I don't want to do business with. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them to think they got to do business with me. So ultimately I'm looking for a fit, right? So once you can kind of mature in the process and even if you're desperate, man, you can't act it, and
how do people, that's a challenge, right? If they are desperate or they do need that sale, how do they come off as not being desperate? Is there a strategy or some tactics
you don't need
around
that sale.
Yep.
You don't.
Believing you don't need that sale.
You don't need that sale. Look, my dad always says, if you think you're desperate, you are. Mm-hmm. So you're going to start doing dumb things. Okay? Hope I need that sale. Or what? Well, my car will get repossessed. Okay. Do you have a friend, a neighbor? Can you buy a bike? I mean, okay, it'll be embarrassing. It'll be inconvenient. Yes, it'll hurt your credit score. So what? I mean, are you willing to sell a kidney to not have that car repossessed? Well, no. Okay, then you don't really need that sale. If I got to sell my kidney to get my daughter back from kidnappers, okay, I need that money for that. Yeah, now, but that ain't the situation. So slow your roll, brother.
That's great. That's powerful. Yeah,
going in all desperate and amped up, and you're going to mess it all up. Look, like I said, I'm a big guy. Played college ball. I'm used to competition. I'm used to big, mean, sweaty people trying to hurt me. But man, like jiu-jitsu, it's a new thing, right? My first 3 tournaments, man, it took until 3 to enjoy it. Despite training 6 days a week, when you do a tournament, it's totally different, right? It's like being on the number 1 tee box with all your buddies and everybody's watching versus being at the range. Oh, I'm smashing at the range, no problem. Oh, everybody's watching, everybody's quiet. They're all looking at me, right? Oh my, it's so different, timed, 6 minutes, crowded. Everybody's watching, screaming, yelling. I forgot everything, man.
Your first 2, you forgot.
Forgot. I'm like, have I ever done this sport before? And like, I just forgot everything. Just hold on for dear life. So it took several times. So like, okay, let's enjoy this process. Let's have some strategy. Let's try some things. Let's react. Let's boom, So you got to go through the motions a good bit to then realize, okay, I'm not desperate. All right, my move didn't work. All right, I'm in a bad spot. Okay, I'm not where I want to be. I'm down on points. Okay. I can get out of it. I've been here before. I'll get out of it, And even if you lose, right? I've won some, I've lost some. And it took 2 years for me to really internalize, because they say there are no losses. You either win or you learn. And it sounds really good. It fits on a meme on Instagram. But it takes a while to internalize that, and realize now, and especially, I just turned 50, and it's like I'm doing these tournaments, and it's like my life is not defined by how I do in some tournament, and I've become friends with everybody I've competed against, and you literally thank one another, like, thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here in front of everybody else and competing, because you get better in that competition, right? So it's like, it's a
mindset, right? The growth mindset. There's a great book called The Growth Mindset. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's great for kids too, because it's interesting with kids. If you constantly teach them to praise them for being good, like, hey, dude, good job, or you did that well, or hey, great job, you're a smart kid, you're doing good. They'll shut down the growth side of their mind, and they'll only do things that they're good at. Mm-hmm. And so because they receive praise throughout this period of time, where when they did something good, now they will avoid something new that they could fail in at all costs. Mm-hmm. And we experienced that with actually our older son. We used to say, dude, great job, kind of pouring into them, the typical millennial, like, you're amazing. You can do anything you want. You're a superstar. So we did a lot of that early on. And so he's very confident, super confident kid, but he will avoid doing things that could show him up as a failure, right? Or he could be seen as a failure. And so there's something called the growth mindset, where you see every interaction or every opportunity for failure as an opportunity to grow. Yeah. Right. And again, you said it's logically, it's like, oh, that's cool. It sounds good. But emotionally, it still hurts when you fail. Yeah. But it's still like my wife's, she's about to launch something pretty big, and there's a fear of failure right around it. I mean, it's big. And so, but she's still willing to take the chance. I think because she knows that it's a first iteration. And that's the way I like looking at things in life. Like Rise Up Kings, right? When I launched it, that's V1. That's iteration 1. I'm version 1 starting out, right? I don't know what version you're at, Wes, but you're at a certain version. But dude, we have so many more versions and iterations to go as far as like who we develop into. And so who knows, baby, by, in 10 years, obviously the program is going to be totally different, right? Sales Whisperer is totally different from where it was, right, 20 years ago. So it's all iterations. We're just constantly learning and growing and tweaking. And so people, if we can switch that mindset where, hey, I'm not going to be afraid to try this new thing, because I know that if I can take one nugget away from this one thing that I did differently. And that's actually why I like pushing myself too hard too. I like pushing to see, that's what jiu-jitsu is, right? You know that if you push yourself hard and compete, you're probably not going to win the competition the first time that you go and do it. Mm-hmm. But the next iteration of yourself and what you learn and develop is you're going to be a different human being, right? Mm-hmm. The Wes, right, you've been doing this for a couple of years, but dude, you do this another 10 years, you're going to be a different level human being than you are now. And it's going to come only through the failures, though, a lot of times, through the struggles, through losing competitions, and then wanting it even more. Yeah. So just that mindset, the growth mindset is,
Yeah, and you're going to do it more with someone else. You know, that old proverb, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team, right? I was in a rut, like working out. I was literally doing like the same basic workout routine I'd done since I was 14. You know, I was kind of just muddling through, not getting great intensity, no real progress. So that was one of the other things too, you know, with jiu-jitsu, like it came at a good time for me. I was ready for something new, a new challenge, but having that team, you know, you show up and you get to know guys, you know, both your peers, they get to know you. Okay, you know, I'm kind of dragging today. Let's not battle to the death, you know. And others, you know, higher belts, like, oh no, you got more in you. Let's go, and they'll grind you away, and you get a little breakthrough, even though you thought you were tired or whatever. And they know, like, are you being a wimp, you know, or do you really need a break? And so having that team to push, you know, and my instructor too. I mean, he's just phenomenal. You step up your game when he's attacking, you know, and that's the cool thing with jiu-jitsu, because you do it full speed with everyone. You know, other sports like karate, you're not kicking each other in the face every single time you go to practice, right? And you're certainly not kicking the instructor. You know, we fight 100% with everyone every day, you know, and so it's that's a little different too. But you got to get.
I think the team does make a difference. Having quality people around you, right? There's people, right, that are doing things alone, right? They're out doing their workouts alone. They're doing their business alone. They're not associating with certain groups of people that are pushing them and getting them to the next level.
Yep.
That's very common for a lot of people. And as you're just explaining right now, I mean, sometimes that is like the kicker of being around other people that are holding you to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Causes you to rise up to that standard. So I bet there's people in your jiu-jitsu that see you bigger than you are, and they just believe in you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this guy's a beast, you know. And so you're like you're stepping into that.
Yeah, especially the higher belts that they don't have anything. Like, they want me to get better, right? And they're, come on, and they'll adjust. They'll stop for a second, coach me on something, go back hard again, and I was like, all right, I see where you're going.
Yeah,
step up your game.
Yeah. What and we'll close with one or two more things. Wes, what do you in life, like, how do you know that you lived a life worth living, that you were successful? Like, kind of what's your definition of success in life?
Man, I made it on this podcast. I'm done.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Well, the skies are about to part. Oh, man.
The light's about to fall on us.
Yeah. I saw a light.
Yeah.
Moving towards me. I don't know if I can answer that yet. I think one big thing is having a family. People, you see it all over social media. So many unhappy people, relationships breaking apart, and family. And it's like, we have happy, well-adjusted kids that contribute to society, and their friends like coming over, so it's like, okay, we're on the right track. And so really, I mean, that's it. Because you hear about it, blood is thicker than water, and it's family. Then they go on to disparage their family. Holidays are coming. I need to get an extra drink, to stay. I'm like, why are y'all like that? It just seems so backwards. So, I guess to one degree, it's, I'm there, right? But you're never there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's that yin and yang, I guess, that balance of being happy with what you have, but still pursuing more. And so I haven't codified it yet, I guess. Just stay the course, And I've asked people a similar question, like on my podcast, and so many people struggle with goal setting, and I've got written goals, and then I find I'll put them away and not look at them for years. Then I'll come back to them, and like a lot of things have been achieved.
Yep.
So writing them down does help, but somebody brought it up on mine. It's like, as long as I'm heading in the right direction, right? It's like, okay, I want to go to New York. I have no idea why I would want to go to New York, but let's say I want to go to New York. Well, how do I get there? I don't go north and I don't go south. And if I go west from here, I'm swimming. So, okay, I want the morning sun in my face. I want the evening sun in my back. And I know I'm kind of heading there. I'm heading in the right direction. Okay, so as long as I'm heading in the right direction, I can refine it and maybe it'll become clear. Maybe I'm like, I get to Phoenix and I'm good. Maybe I make it to Memphis. I'm like, I'm gonna stay right here. I don't need New York. I've learned some things along the way. I'm cool. You know what? I'm gonna go to St. Louis. Okay, but I started the journey. So it's so good family, good kids. Help somebody else, leave the world a better place than I found it.
You feel like you're doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that. No, I can tell by your heart, man. I'm going to ask you another hard question. I'm giving you some hard ones. Potential. So this conversation of potential, I'm super intrigued by. And it's kind of my mission, right? Part of our statement with Rise Up Kings is helping men rise up to their God-given potential. And so, maybe people will not always operate at 100%, like you were mentioning, given 100% in jiu-jitsu. But what do you think are some of the factors that help get a man to 100% or help him to get close to that number? Like, what do you think helps bring a guy to his closest to his full potential as possible? Couple factors.
Other men.
Okay.
We've again, the enemy, is the devil. And the devil, and in any war, I want to attack your weakest point. Okay. And so, and we'll kid each other. Like at practice, we start, you're like, usually we're like, how you doing? And we know one another as well. Like one good friend of mine, he's got a groin injury and then he cut his hand really bad. And so he just came back after 3 weeks, nasty stitches. And, so we'll get started, right? I'm like, hey, how's your hand? And I immediately grab, oh, you jerk, but like if it was a real tournament, I see him favoring it, I'm going to attack it. You see it in football, a cornerback gets hurt and they put a new guy in. Smart teams immediately throw right there because this guy's coming in cold. Obviously a great athlete. He's on the team, but he's not warmed up. So I'm going to go to that weak spot. And so the devil challenging the role of man and woman, of husband and wife and family. The devil's smart. He's hitting us where we're weak. Literally challenging our manhood. What does it mean to be a man? Do I need to grow a beard? Should I have a hatchet? Should I be comfortable wearing makeup? What does it mean to be a man? You got to answer that yourself. But
how do you feel on that note? We can answer the potential thing a little after, but that's a great conversation real quick, and then we'll. How do you feel society is starting to attack that? Right, it's a conversation I have somewhat regularly. Like, what are you seeing? What are you seeing kind of happening? And I posted something recently about, right? Do you feel manhood is being attacked, and how is it being attacked? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and you see a lot like the government. Displacing the father, right? Minimizing the role of father. You see it in popular television, man. Going back into the 90s with, Married with Children. Al Bundy, the dad's a goofball. The Simpsons, the dad's a goofball.
Yep.
Everywhere you look, the dad's a goofball.
Almost all the cartoons now.
Yeah.
The Incredibles, right? I don't know if you've seen the Incredibles. Like the superhero, the wife and the mom is always the
Mom's
powerhouse,
got it together.
the intelligent
dad's
one.
A goofball.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Why is that? So, but again, look around. It's like in sales. Look around. If your marketing and talk track sounds like the competition, then you're losing. So if society is belittling what you think is right, you're probably on the right track, just right there. Mm-hmm. So, and it's so funny. Like I see people, and I had a classmate from the Air Force Academy literally say this just 4 or 6 weeks ago on Facebook, oh, I love it because I was having this conversation with a guy, another Christian, like on some of the finer points. She says, oh, I love it when my Christian friends have a or fight one another about their imaginary friend. I mean, I literally called her. I'm like, what's this about? Like, if you're going to be like that, I mean, I don't know why we're connected. Like, that's just some crap. And, but at the same time, she'll make a post like, oh, I pray for I call on the universe to bring me what I need. I'm like, oh, so I have an imaginary friend, but you're going to talk to this universe of hydrogen and helium and whatever to give. Okay, but I'm the crazy one. Yeah, I got you. But it's literally in our DNA to worship. They have found across the entire world, right? The Aztecs and the Mayans, the Aborigines, the Chinese, the pyramids in Egypt, right? All of them going back 10 and 20,000 years. They know there's something greater than them. So it's like, how do we arrive at that point? I believe we're made in God's image, right? With his DNA. And so we're going to worship something. We are tribal, societal creatures. And so, the powers that be, the devil, right, have been emboldened. And these secular people, they're going to worship something. I think they literally worship the government. They literally worship their senators and president or hate the president if it's the wrong one. They feel like it's the devil coming after them. Like, good grief, people.
Sports teams and they'll find any way to worship something. That's interesting. And then faith, faith as a conversation around potential, but then also as a conversation around, if God is no longer a part of families, and if fathers are no longer a part of families, right, and he can break that unit apart, that's a hardcore attack on family through manhood, right, and through fathers. And so, I know there's definitely a war and an issue going on, and it's kind of my hope that, right, this men rise up, right, and start stepping up into the role and start to be more responsible and start to do our the best that we can, right, and it's hard, right, we have a complex role. And it's confusing for a lot of men, with now women, right, many times becoming more successful than financially successful than men. And it kind of leaves men questioning, like, hey, what is my role? Do I stay at home dad? Is that my new role? Is it, what is my role? Mm-hmm. My wife's now making more money than me. She's bringing in maybe more masculine energy now because she's taking on that goal achieving kind of role, and so the husband's taking that back seat and just confused. There's a lot of confused people, mm-hmm. and so my hope is just that men start stepping up and really just being the best version of themselves. We're kind of retapping into some of the masculinity. You don't get a lot of that masculinity from sitting on a computer. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a dying thing. Working out, right? Exercising is a way to kind of tap into the primal side of ourselves, right? Jiu Jitsu, fighting. I mean, just stuff like that's just primal. It's just built into men. And when we eliminate all that stuff, then, we run into some issues, which is what we're seeing. So, and then, as far as God and your family, because you guys sound like you have an incredible family, man. So I'm excited to hear that. I love hearing that. There's so many challenges right now with depression and kids and suicide, and had a friend recently where his child passed away from suicide. So it's a lot of that going on right now. It's pretty bad. So it sounds like you guys have made God and your relationship with Christ like a core part of your family foundation, and just your structure. Like it's primary in your family, or Do you think that's been pivotal to the success of your family? Or what do you think?
Yeah.
Why?
Certainly instrumental. Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Early on, I mean, kids are funny, right? They either take in every single thing you do and run with it, or maybe they'll fight it.
Depending on the personality.
Depending on their personality, right? So it's like my oldest, he's 23 now, so. He's kind of lost his faith. He's kind of searching,
mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's squared away, graduated college, got a job, doing his thing. Okay. My oldest daughter is very deep in her faith. She's like a role model. Then the others are younger. So, they go to church with us and basically do what we say because they're still young enough. But I feel like they have a true faith. And so, but just living by those examples that we're taught, through our faith, because at a minimum, they early on, the kids, they don't realize that how we're raising them is based on our beliefs, right? So they could say, it's like when you see people say, oh, we don't need God, we've got laws and whatever. Like, where do you think these laws came from? Like Franklin and Jefferson and Washington, I mean, they weren't just like sacrificing babies, to the sun god and made laws. I mean, it was based on the Judeo-Christian principles that most of them were brought up in. And yeah, I've seen the debates that, oh, God wasn't that much, and some were secular. Look, I get it, but God had a shape. He shaped how this very nation was discovered, how it was populated, how it was formed. And so for you to say, oh, we can just throw that all away, it's like you don't realize how much you were shaped and molded and are right now under that Judeo-Christian upbringing. So, bringing our kids up that way as they get older, like I said, I mean, hell, it took me till I had 5 kids to realize, man, life is short. Your kids grow up fast. Eventually, I pray and hope that they'll get to that point. Like what mom and dad taught was right. Their beliefs were right. How to worship and conduct ourselves was right. But, so far it seems to be working.
Mm-hmm. No, it seems that way. I think for us too in our family, right? We God is such a critical part of our family unit and our structure and the way we parent our kids. And it's cool.
And you can't beat yourself up if things change, right? Like my 23-year-old. Yeah. I mean, some people would be like just self, beating themselves up. And it's like, we did everything we could. Yep. He's a grown man, and I'm not going to fight him. I'm not going to make him feel bad. I'm not going to ridicule him or guilt trip him. He's on his journey. I've done everything that I could to get him on the right path.
It happens. Oh, yeah. No, I walked away at a certain point in my life.
If he has questions, I'll be there when he comes back, and it's an open door, right? I'm not ridiculing. You're cut out of the will. I mean, no, it's like you got to figure yourself out. I think that's our role. Yeah, our role is to do the best job that we can, and then the kids will make their own decision, right? And all that we can do is hope that we not only taught, I think, the best that we could, but we also represented Jesus the best that we could too, right? It's how we showed up a lot of the time that really they'll learn sometimes more from that than what we did. So it's all we can do is the best that we can do. And so I think it's cool. My wife she created a kids devotional and gratitude journal, and so my 2 kids, they read it every day, and then they write, and it has like guided journal questions with little scripture in it, and like it's a gratitude journal, and then it has scripture with hey, what did you take away from that scripture? So it's pretty cool. And so we're starting to instill. There's some powerful wisdom in the Bible, like very powerful. I mean, just profound, also simple, just straightforward, like truths that our kids can learn to live by. And so I think the best job that we can do, and one of the biggest things I think I can have on my kids is I think just raising them up with that strong foundation, because at the end of the day, though, they're going to make their own decision, and they're going to follow their own path, and all I can do is hope. Well, and that's why church is so important in community, right? And that's why this whole COVID thing is so bad. Like locking it down, keeping people away from church. Because when you can bring your family, and we've seen this, we've lived it. I mean, having all these babies, especially we had a big gap between the 6th and the 7th. We had 3 miscarriages. But otherwise, I mean, we were popping babies out. So we had 6 in like 10 years, and so constant chaos and diapers and everything, and just got to go to the bathroom, and people like, is it even worth going to church? It's like, I can't pay attention. We feel like a circus. We're distracting. And people would tell us, and now we tell them, it's great to see you here. It's great that you're making the effort. Even if you're not getting a lot out from the sermon and whatever. God appreciates that you're there, and we appreciate that you're here. It's good to see you. Let us help you if we can. And, my wife especially, she's taking kids from the wives and, holding them while they go to the bathroom, or my daughters will take now we know people, like, oh, can you just take my daughter? They'll take them to the bathroom so the family can have a minute apiece. So being there, then you make friends. And so then your kids are friends with other kids that are going to church. And so you rub off on one another. And so to lock that out for the last 6 months, I mean, again, dude, this is war, right? This is the devil acting. And people don't realize how they're falling prey to it. And it's time to stand up, and you see these keyboard warriors, it's like, careful what you wish for, particularly on the other side of my beliefs, it's like, I forget the Latin, but, if you want peace, prepare for war. Right. And, I feel like I can hold my own in just about any situation because I've trained for it. I mean, since joining the military in '88, playing football, and before then, it's like, and I stay in shape. Like,
it's great.
I was like, I'm ready.
Preparation.
And,
Yep.
And so I stay calm. Right. I'm not going to get into a road rage and what. I'm like, dude, what? Go ahead. You got somewhere to be. Because I know, right, if anything were to escalate, the defense is on my side. It's like, look, I did everything I could to de-escalate this thing. He truly left me no choice. So I always want to make sure the odds are stacked in my favor, that if violence ever has to come, it was the absolute last resort, and it was only to save myself or someone else. But you can be chill when you're prepared. Like we were talking at lunch, when I roll with some higher belt, especially my black belts there at my school, they're just like checking their nails, and they're having conversations. I'm like, I'll grab their beer, like, look at me, because they're talking to somebody. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I like it. And they're just over here tying me in knots. I'm like, at least look at me when you crush me. So, but they're so well prepared.
Yeah.
They know there's nothing I can throw at them that they can't handle.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be calm and in the moment and present, and if I do get a little burst, get a little lucky, they have the practice to, like, okay, immediately dissect it and go, okay, I got to go here. And they get things back in order. And they're very chill because they've practiced.
Dude, I believe it's our role as the man of the household to not only be able to protect ourselves, but to be able to protect our family.
Yeah.
I believe that's critical. I really do. Our family relies on our ability to protect them and to have that just security, right? Knowing that their man's there to protect them. Obviously, we have God, but God's given men a unique role, I believe, of the provider and the protector. So
it's so funny. I pick on my friends out there. I was given the Murrieta Citizen of the Year award by the Chamber of Commerce in 2018, whatever, right? And I bag on them. I'm like, I had to leave for y'all to give me an award, because they gave it to me because I flew back to Houston during Hurricane Harvey, and was out there for 8 days. And, my wife, God bless her, I see the storm come in, like, I got to go. She's like, yeah, I figured you'd say that. And I was gone that night, for 8 days. And I mean, there's no hesitation. It's like, because I was ready, right? I drove in alone, bringing a truck, brought Sea-Doos, raised $23,000. We're driving over cars. Over cars. And it was so deep, but it's like, I didn't think twice about it, and I wasn't worried about it. Like, what you worried? Like, I swim 3 miles across Tampa Bay every January. I fight 6 days a week. It's like, I got money in the bank. No, I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm only ready because of the little things every single day, the decisions that I've made for 10 or 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
That I'm ready. So to make any sale, you got to make every sale. Mm-hmm. Right. So what you eat tonight matters. It'll impact how you sleep. How you sleep impacts how you wake up, and impacts what you can do and how hard you train and how good you focus. I mean, and it's an endless cycle. So everything matters. You know, thanks for making me eat that spicy chicken sandwich.
Yeah, no, I know. We ate that right before. Not a good idea. Hey, I gave you the option. I was curious to see which one you'd pick.
Oh, yeah, gave me the option. Best chicken sandwich I've ever had in my entire life. Or there's a burger.
There's a hamburger.
You did some Jedi mind trick. This is not the burger you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I was just testing.
Yeah, give me the chicken.
I was seeing how committed you were to health and nutrition. Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming out here and just being on the show and just the type of guy that you are. I feel like we need more men that are just showing up that way and just you're a great example of what it looks like to really be like what I call 4-dimensional, someone that has their faith, their family, their fitness, right, and their finance, their businesses in alignment. They're investing on a daily basis in all of those. You know what I mean? So that's what Rise Up Kings is all about, is just investing in those on a regular basis, because over the long term, that's how you become prepared and you get to that place where, you know, you can have that confidence knowing, hey, I've been investing in these and it's producing results. So again, man, happy to have you on the show, my brother, and looking forward to connect more.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.